Hello everyone, and welcome back to Dinosaur World. In our last adventure, Roro made a brave escape from the clutches of the cunning Deinonychus, but it came at a great cost. He had to leave his best friend Dodo behind. Now, as the sun rises on a new day, Roro is all alone, lost in the vast prehistoric jungle, with only one thought on his mind. He has to rescue Dodo. Roro's heart was heavy with worry. Dodo, he whispered to himself, I promise I'll come back for you. But how? He was just one small dinosaur. The Deinonychus were fast, smart, and they worked together. He needed a plan, and more importantly, he needed help. But where could he find allies in this dangerous world? He started walking, his eyes scanning the dense foliage. He remembered stories his parents used to tell him about the mighty titans of the jungle, the gentle giants who were strong enough to fend off any predator. Maybe, just maybe, they would help him. His first goal was to find the Argentinosaurus herd. They were known for their kindness and immense size. If anyone could stand up to the Deinonychus, it would be them. The journey was perilous. Every rustle in the bushes made his heart jump. He tiptoed past a sleeping Spinosaurus, its massive sail-like fin casting a long shadow on the ground. He narrowly avoided a territorial Triceratops, who thankfully was too busy munching on ferns to notice a small dinosaur scurrying by. Roro was scared, but the thought of Dodo gave him the strength to keep going. After what felt like an eternity, he heard a sound that shook the very ground beneath him. Boom, boom, boom. It was the sound of colossal footsteps. He cautiously peered through a thicket of giant leaves and saw them. A whole herd of Argentinosaurus, their long necks reaching high into the canopy, peacefully grazing. They were even bigger than he had imagined. Gathering all his courage, Roro stepped out into the clearing. Excuse me, he shouted, his voice barely a squeak compared to the thundering sounds of the herd. A young Argentinosaurus, much smaller than the others but still gigantic to Roro, lowered its head, its curious eye blinking slowly. Well, hello there, little one, she said in a surprisingly gentle voice. What brings you to our grazing grounds? It's not often we see someone your size traveling alone. Roro explained everything, how he and Dodo had been ambushed, how the Deinonychus had captured Dodo, and how he had barely escaped. He told her about his promise to save his friend. I know it's a lot to ask, Roro finished, his voice trembling, but they're too strong for me alone. I need your help. Will you help me save Dodo? The young Argentinosaurus, whose name was Luna, listened patiently. Her expression turned from curiosity to sympathy. The Deinonychus are a menace to everyone, she said, her voice rumbling with concern. They are bullies who prey on the weak. What they did to your friend is wrong. She turned her massive head toward the largest dinosaur in the herd, an old and wise-looking Argentinosaurus. Grandfather, did you hear that? The old dinosaur, the leader of the herd, slowly turned his attention to Roro. His eyes, ancient and deep, seemed to hold the wisdom of ages. He looked down at the small, determined dinosaur standing before him. Courage is not about size, little one, the old leader rumbled. It is about the strength of your heart, and your heart is very strong. Rescuing your friend is a noble cause. He then looked at Luna and the rest of the herd. We have long been bothered by the Deinonychus pack. They disrupt the peace of this valley. Perhaps it is time we reminded them that strength should be used to protect, not to harm. A wave of murmurs and determined nods went through the herd. They were going to help. Roro's heart swelled with hope. He wasn't alone anymore. The plan was simple but bold. The Argentinosaurus would create a massive diversion. They would march toward the Deinonychus lair, their thundering footsteps and sheer size drawing the attention of every predator in the area. The Deinonychus pack, arrogant as they were, wouldn't be able to resist investigating such a huge disturbance. They would leave their lair to confront the giants, thinking them to be easy, slow-moving targets. While the pack was distracted, Roro, guided by Luna, would sneak into the lair from the opposite side. Luna, being younger and more agile than the others, could navigate the rockier terrain near the Deinonychus den. Her job was to keep watch from a high vantage point, while Roro would be the one to actually go in and free Dodo. As the sun began to set, casting long orange shadows across the valley, the plan was set in motion. The Argentinosaurus herd began their march. The ground trembled with their every step. Boom, boom, boom. The sound was deafening, a declaration of power that echoed for miles. From their lookout posts, the Deinonychus predators perked up, their sharp eyes scanning the horizon. Seeing the approaching mountain-sized dinosaurs, their leader hissed an order, and the whole pack rushed out to meet the challenge, leaving their lair practically unguarded. This was Roro's chance. "Good luck, little one," Luna whispered, her enormous head giving him a gentle nudge. "Be brave," Roro nodded, his fear replaced by a steely resolve. "I will," he promised. He scurried toward the entrance of the Deinonychus's cave. It was a dark, intimidating opening in the side of a cliff, littered with the bones of past meals. The smell was awful, but Roro pushed onward, his mind focused solely on Dodo. Inside, the cave was a network of twisting tunnels. Roro moved as silently as a shadow, his ears twitching at every drip of water and every skittering insect. He followed the faint sounds of shuffling and a soft whimpering. "Dodo?" he called out in a hushed voice. "Dodo, is that you?" A weak chirp answered him from a small chamber deeper inside. "Roro, you came back!" Roro rushed in and saw Dodo, trapped in a makeshift cage of woven vines and sharp sticks. He looked tired and scared, but his eyes lit up with joy and relief upon seeing his friend. "I told you I would," Roro said, a grin spreading across his face. He immediately got to work, using his sharp teeth and claws to chew and tear at the tough vines. It took several frantic minutes, but finally, one of the vines snapped. Then another, and another, until the opening was big enough for Dodo to squeeze through. Dodo scrambled out and gave Roro the biggest hug he could manage. "You saved me. I knew you would," he chirped excitedly. Roro urged, "We're not out yet. We have to be quiet." Just as they were about to sneak out, they heard a menacing hiss from the cave entrance. 2 Deinonychus had stayed behind as guards. They had heard the noise and were now blocking the only way out, their sickle-like claws tapping ominously on the stone floor. Roro and Dodo were trapped. Roro's heart sank. After all this, were they going to fail? But Roro wouldn't give up. He looked around the small chamber, desperate for another way out. His eyes fell upon a small crack in the back wall, partially hidden by shadows. It was too small for him, but maybe, just maybe it was big enough for Dodo. "Dodo, look, that crack. See if you can fit through it. It might lead outside," he whispered urgently. Dodo scurried over and examined the opening. It was a tight squeeze, but he thought he could make it. "What about you, Roro?" Dodo asked, his voice filled with worry. "I'll hold them off," Roro said, standing protectively in front of his friend. "Just go. Get to Luna. She's waiting outside. Now hurry." Dodo hesitated for a second, then nodded, trusting his friend. He began wiggling his way through the narrow crevice. Meanwhile, the 2 Deinonychus stalked closer and closer to Roro, their predatory eyes gleaming in the dark. Roro stood his ground, letting out the loudest roar his little lungs could muster, trying to be as intimidating as possible. What will happen to Roro? Will Dodo make it to safety and get help in time? And will the mighty Argentinosaurus herd succeed in their diversion? It seems our heroes are in more trouble than ever before. We'll have to find out what happens next time in the next episode of Dinosaur World. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more adventures.